Come with me and we'll keep you safe.
Ben Hargreeves, or Number 6, was one of the 7 children adopted by Sir Reginald Hargreeves after a strange worldwide phenomenon. These kids were all born on the same day to women who experienced no signs of pregnancy before birth, and they were actually among the 43 children who were born the same way. Sir Reginald picked out these 7 and hoped to train them so that they could save the world, and they all had their unique powers. Among them, Ben could summon eldritch tentacles from a different portal through his stomach, but he had a short-lived childhood and had died at quite a young age. However, his presence is evident throughout the show as he has a sibling that can communicate with ghosts, and things have gotten more interesting ever since an alternate reality version of him came into being. Today we will dive into Ben's anatomy and explore all his physiological abilities, ranging from his ability to summon tentacles to possess people, and tell you everything about him. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means an awful lot. Thank you, and let's begin. Who is Ben, aka Number 6? Introduced as one of the 43 babies born on 1st of October 1989, Ben Hargreeves was soon adopted by Sir Reginald Hargreeves. He labeled these 7 adopted children on the basis of their powers and loyalty, and Ben ranked at Number 6. This implied that he had highly enhanced abilities and impressive powers, but was chaotic and prone to stirring up trouble at the same time. Ben could summon eldritch creatures through a portal from his stomach, and these tentacled life forms could kill entire human beings. Around 2002, Ben made his first public appearance alongside the other students of the Umbrella Academy, and they presented themselves as superheroes. They even stepped up to stop a robbery at the Capital West Bank where Ben reluctantly used his powers to kill the robbers. Reginald was quite accurate in ranking Ben as Number 6, as Ben's abilities shocked all the witnesses and hostages to the core. All the hostages ended up running away from the scene after watching him kill the robbers, and Ben was also asked to leave the scene immediately. Later on, Reginald only introduced the other 6 siblings as the founding members of the Umbrella Academy and never publicly admitted to adopting a 7th kid. Unfortunately, Ben died at quite a young age, and his death was one of the main reasons behind the Academy's disbandment. His death was referred to as the Jennifer Incident, and Reginald acknowledged his death by erecting a statue of the young kid in the Academy's courtyard. Over the years, Ben has managed to return in his ghost form, and he communicates with Claus, whose superpower is talking to ghosts and spirits. None of the Hargreeves siblings knew the actual reason behind Ben's death, and the viewers were also left in the dark until Season 4 was released. This season, we finally learned the truth behind this so-called Jennifer incident after the Hargreeves siblings recovered all their memories regarding their brother's death. Reginald Hargreeves, from this timeline, revealed the truth behind Ben's death, especially after all the siblings only remembered vague details about how it was a tragic incident and that he died because they failed as a team. However, it turns out that the original Reginald had brainwashed all of them to forget the incident since he was the one who had actually killed Ben. Many years ago, the Umbrella Academy was sent on a mission to recover a weapon from a Moldovan arms dealer. Reginald instructed them all to keep the weapon within the container, but Ben discovered that the container held a woman named Jennifer. He tried to free her, but Reginald showed up at the scene and shot Ben as well as Jennifer to death. While this seemed like a cruel punishment at the time, we learned that Ben and Jennifer had actually come together to plot the apocalypse in the future, and Reginald was only trying to prevent this from happening. He then erased this incident from the rest of the siblings' memories with some help from a government project that could alter the human mind in the 60s. While the original Reginald used his power to brainwash his kids, the Reginald from the present timeline used the same project to help them regain their memories in the current timeline.
Here's your next bone.
What kind of creatures does Ben Hargreeves summon through the portal in his body? Ben's primary abilities involved summoning eldritch tentacles from a portal through his stomach, and he could also exert total control over their movements. These tentacles were quite deadly, and Ben had utterly destroyed the bodies of several bank robbers in one go by unleashing these tentacles upon them. However, this was not a pretty view, and the tentacles did a job of tearing someone apart, but also left their guts splattered all over the place. The gruesome openness of his abilities left Ben quite reluctant, and he mostly refrained from using his powers. While he has mostly unleashed eldritch tentacles, it is believed that his stomach can open up portals to other forms of eldritch beings as well. While he has not resorted to this yet, the possibility of it grants him a whole lot of advantage and combat potential when put in a tough spot. How does possession work in Ben's ghost form? At one point in his story arc as a ghost, Ben realized that he had the ability to possess the people for short spans. He could then take over their bodies and make them do things that he wanted, but his actions were time restrictive. Moreover, Claus found a way to eject him out of his body when Ben once tried to possess his sibling. These powers might not be his strongest suit, but he could certainly use this ability for many purposes as long as he did not linger too long in his host body. For instance, he once managed to enter Victor's mind to have a conversation with him, but such an act required a lot of effort, and Ben had to cross over into the afterlife to do so.
God, it's him. Ben!
How does Ben's physiology as a ghost differ from when he was alive? While Ben died at quite a young age as a child, Claus usually sees his ghost as an adult who might be in his late teens or early 20s. Many fans have wondered why his ghost physiology differs from his actual physiology at the time of his death, and there are a whole bunch of theories out there. According to some of them, Ben's exposure to trauma would have compelled him to turn into a mature adult, and he just might have gone through a whole lot of emotional growth that made him appear older and wiser. His ghost also does not sport the same scars that caused him death, which suggests that he has transcended into a state where he could get rid of his wounds to appear more put together. Moreover, Claus sees strange ghosts all the time, but Ben is his brother, which means he may have formed a deeper connection with him. Ben's presence is closely related to Claus's abilities to see and communicate with ghosts, and Claus has grown up with Ben, which is also why he sees Ben in a proper adult form unlike other ghosts. Ben also seems capable of performing some surprising feats, even in the afterlife, and he can hold physical objects without them phasing through his body. There are several theories that suggest that this could be Claus's doing, and there is no doubt that they have established a unique ghostly bond. Along the same lines, Ben still retained his abilities to summon eldritch tentacles even in death, and he often stepped in to use these abilities whenever his brother requested them. Some fans suggest that Claus's guilt over Ben's death could also be a reason why he can see his brother in such a unique form, but others have a more supernatural explanation behind Ben's ghost physiology. According to these theories, Ben's powers are connected to an alternate dimension, and he might just have been stuck in a void or another reality. His death is not covered explicitly on the show, and it is only established that he died a brutal death at a young age. Fans believe that Ben might just have gotten stuck in the same world or even in hell with the eldritch creatures, and that he spent a few years there before coming in contact with Claus. This explains why he had aged or why his appearance differed from when he was alive, and there just might be some way for Claus to channel his powers in a way that brings Ben back to their reality. Could the repeated use of his powers have contributed to his early demise? It is an undeniable fact that Ben's ability to summon otherworldly creatures through his stomach was quite fascinating and lethal. This also implies that Ben would have required a whole lot of energy to perform this feat, and that he would need extended periods of rest to bounce back after displaying his powers. While this suggests that Ben could have died due to the repeated use of his powers, this is not exactly what happens to him in this series. The ending of Season 4 has confirmed that Ben was killed by Reginald for freeing Jennifer, as the wise old man knows that the two of them would bring about the apocalypse in the future. His fate was already determined, and Reginald took matters into his own hands to prevent the apocalypse and the cause of his adopted son's early demise.
You shouldn't have come for me.
Vanya, I died 17 years ago.
Is Ben aka number 6 immortal? Ben does not seem immortal in the traditional sense, but he has also assumed the form of a ghost who lingers around and does not truly leave. It is an established fact that he died at a young age, which is a defining characteristic of his story arc. However, he returned to the Umbrella Academy as a ghost, and Claus was equipped with special powers that allowed him to perceive his dead sibling. Moreover, Claus could communicate with Ben and even work with him to defeat opponents even in death. and one can say that he is near immortal in the sense that his spirit continues to live on and bond with his brother. However, he is not truly immortal and can only appear as long as Klaus maintains their connection. In the event that Klaus died, Ben would also lose his connection to the mortal world and be unable to make any appearances along with the rest of the siblings. Additionally, Klaus does not always have the mental capacity to maintain their connection, and there are times when Ben is entirely wiped out from the mortal world whenever Klaus needs a break from his connection to the spiritual world. Ben's new powers in Season 4. While we have become quite familiar with Ben's ghost appearances, an alternate version of him was introduced at the end of Season 3. He was a part of the alternate Sparrow Academy as their number 2, but he tagged along with the original Umbrella Academy in Season 4. He was known as a conniving young man who was even arrested for scamming people, and he got his hands on Marigold and consumed it in order to gain power. Sparrow Ben then gained Ben's ability to sprout tentacles, but with the minor change that his tentacles emerged from his back instead of his chest. They would almost appear in the form of tails, and Ben would joke about how he had to drag them around. While he was not the Ben we have known for so long, he had trained with the Sparrow Academy for most of his life, and he had a good hold over these powers and the tentacles. However, he struggled to retain control over the tentacles after spending a good number of years in jail, and they would then start sprouting whenever he felt any negative emotions or stress. In a surprising display of advanced powers, Ben eventually mutated into a gigantic monster known as the Cleanse, as the season inched close to its finale. However, this was not an enhanced display of his own powers, but rather the effect of his reunion with Jennifer. Her body contained a form of an anti-Marigold element which clashed with Ben's Marigold element and triggered his transformation into a monster as soon as they got intimate. Number 6, aka Ben. Major differences between comics and Netflix series. It is a well-established fact that some things are bound to be different when a comic or novel is adapted into a television series, and all the characters in the Umbrella Academy are no strangers to this fate. Ben Hargreeves was one of these characters, and he had white hair and a light skin color in the comics, while his Netflix counterpart was Asian and he had black hair and dark brown eyes. The Netflix series also made a major change in his story arc by introducing him as a member of the Sparrow Academy, as Ben remains dead in both the original as well as the altered timelines in the comic series. Ben also had an interesting set of powers in the comic series and earned a nickname as 00.06, the Horror. In the comics, he could summon eldritch tentacles just like in the series, but this was only one of the many kinds of interdimensional beasts that he could contact. While it was mere speculation that Ben could also summon beasts from alternate reality portals in the television series, these powers never materialized on the big screen, even though they were a big part of his identity in the comics. Marvel's verdict. And with that, we come to the end of this video that explores Ben Hargreeves' tumultuous story arc, and we can certainly say that he has had nothing short of a roller coaster life. From learning how to summon eldritch tentacles to dying and returning as a ghost who can communicate with claws, Ben has lived quite an impressive life no matter what his living status is. He has also appeared in a new form in Season 4, and we would love to hear your views in the comments below. If you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.